Sources are reporting that Ten Hag has sent an email to his new Manchester United squad saying there'll be no room for egomaniacs within his team. Sentiment is good, but when you think of egos in football, inevitably you go to maybe their top goal scorer from last season. And if you're Cristiano Ronaldo, do you want to be receiving these? Do these emails make any difference to your squad, to the players? Is it all? Well, I don't
Nonsense.
quite.
Garbage. Absolute garbage.
What's the point?
Well, there's no point. It does nothing. Look, and why you would do it, the fact if he has done this would worry me if I'm a Man United fan as well. Because if you look at all the best managers, the important things are done in front of people's faces. They're done eye to eye, whether it's a single player or whether it's a squad, whether it's his staff, whatever it may be. The only way, and we're talking about a culture that needs to be built. You don't build a culture by sending emails out and telling them what it's going to be.
Right.
You build a culture by, from the very first day, setting standards, whatever it may be. And then when somebody doesn't meet that standard, bang, you hit them as hard as you can. That's what Fergie did. That's what all the best managers do. They don't do it in an email. He shouldn't be doing anything other than talking to somebody face to face. First day of training, you get them in, you get them in front of you, and you lay down the law. This is how we do it, or this is how we're doing it now. And if you don't like it, then that's fine. You can, if you want to get yourself out the door, then that's fine.
Right.
But if you don't toe the line, then you'll be going out the door another way. So that's when you start, not in an email. To me, that's just wrong.
Let's just pretend, Shaka, that I'm an egomaniac and I receive that email. I don't suddenly think, oh, I better not be an egomaniac today.
Well, to Stevie's point that he was rather aggressively making there, for a minute there, I thought he was going to come for you, Dan. You don't send an email, you do it to people's faces. I was a little bit scared there, I'm not going to lie to you.
But you do, you have to set a tone.
Right.
I mean,
because he cited the fact he wants it to be like Sir Alex Ferguson era, doesn't he? He wants to bring back that sort of authority.
Right, well, if that's what he wants, he should have thought, right, what would Alex do? So he's got what is...
Well, he didn't have emails in those days.
Listen. Smarty Pants is back, yeah. Smarty Pants is back. But the mere fact he thinks that's okay, in my opinion, is a black mark against him. Because you don't do that. You set a standard, and you only do it by looking at people in the eye and telling them.
To that point, Sir Alex Ferguson earned that authority in that dressing room through who he was as a person, how he carried himself, and how he communicated, particularly in person. So while I understand the need for Ten Hag to feel that he needs to be more like Sir Alex Ferguson, that maybe has been missing, and why Manchester United have been starved of the success that they have, that's something that you only earn on the training ground or in the dressing room. That's not something that you kind of spell out in pre-season or before pre-season even starts by email or any other form of communication.
And here's the other thing as well, Dan. You're sending. If you get texts and emails and all kinds of stuff, if the three of us could read the same thing and take something different from it,
right?
So that's getting off on the wrong foot straight away. So it makes no sense.
Sir Alex Ferguson, of course, cited it as the role that he wants to follow. But when you played with him, in 1986 at the World Cup?
Yep.
It wasn't quite as strict as you thought it was going to be.
Well, he did have a little thing called Manchester United on his mind.
Right.
That was with the Scotland team. Yeah. He actually got the job while he was with us in the World Cup. So I can't... After finding out what was going on, yes, it kind of made sense. Right. Because with all due respect, going from Aberdeen to Manchester United is a rather huge leap. And so, of course, he was occupied with that. So I'm sure that was part of the reason why he was so relaxed.
Oh, there you are. Not because he trusted you players. Surely he trusted you guys.
He trusted Stevie.
Trusted Stevie?
He trusted Stevie.
He did trust... Well, and there was a lot of Aberdeen players there as well. So,
right.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about two completely different scenarios. Because the one thing I will tell you, as relaxed as he was in Mexico with the international team, he was the complete and utter opposite. This is a guy who knew where everybody was before they were getting there.
Yes.
This guy could tell you where...
He had scouts.
He had people everywhere in Manchester, London, you name it. He knew what they were all up to. So it's a completely different scenario.
How do you deal with this dressing room, Stevie? Like, if you're Ten Hag day one, do you go in as authoritative, you're saying? You look people in the eye,
you get rid
and you
of
say,
the
I don't
ones.
care if you're Cristiano Ronaldo, I don't care if you're...
You figure out who's causing the problems.
How do you find that out?
Just by the way people act, the things that are being said. You know, most players, and I'm going to assume most players, forget that there are staff in and around the dressing room, in the treatment room, in the halls that have got ears. And most players forget that. And so they'll be having conversations and things are being said. And if you're a smart head coach, that's all coming back to you.
Okay.
Not just the guys in the clubs at 2 o'clock in the morning. Everything that happens inside that building, you should know what's going on. And if you don't, then you're not doing your job properly, or you haven't got your staff doing the job properly. So then once you figure out who the troublemakers are, then you've got a decision. Do you go the Fergie way, which is, I don't give a stuff who you are, what your name is, how much you get, how many goals you scored, you're out the door, because that's what he did. Or, if you go the other way, you're just never going to get rid of the problem. You've got to weed out the rats, basically.
Just to the Mbappe situation at PSG, if you're Ten Hag, do you have a conversation with any of the senior players? Like do you speak to David De Gea or someone like that and say, what's going on?
With the Mbappe situation at PSG.
So obviously Mbappe, the suggestion is he has the power, yes, to go to someone and say, get rid of him, keep him. Do you utilise some of the senior players to try and get an insight into what's going on in the dressing room?
No.
Or is that dangerous?
No, that's dangerous. You have to establish that authority yourself. You have to have that conversation yourself with the player in question.
Right.
Going through somebody else, I think, weakens you immeasurably. To the point that Stevie is making, knowing what's going on through coaches in the dressing room or whatever is only a part of the job. You then have to confront, when anything is happening that needs to be addressed, you then need to confront that person one-on-one, face-to-face, and have that conversation with them, as Stevie put it, regardless of how many goals you've scored, what role you've played, how many starts you had last, whatever it may be, wherever you play on the park, have that discussion. And if they don't fit into your plans, if they don't respect your authority, or it proves that they're going to be a problem, then you have to get rid of them. That is the only way the rest of the dressing room follows your lead and believes in you, because the slightest sign of weakness, every single other player in that dressing room will take advantage.
I also think it's important that you have a good captain. And you need a good...
But who's that going to be, Stevie?
Well,
who's that going to be at United?
He's going to have to figure it out. I'm not talking just for the dressing room or on the field, but as an extension of you as the coach as well, because if you get that relationship with your captain, you can, again, it's another way of finding out what's the mood of the players, you know. Do they need a day off? Or, you know, anything you can do to involve the players through the captain makes them feel as though they're actually involved in it. Whether it's silly things like, would we rather get the bus at 7 in the morning or 9 in the morning, but it makes them feel as though they're actually involved.
But I think Maguire's the captain at the moment. He's not even guaranteed to start.
Well, and that's again, it's huge. You need a real captain, a guy that doesn't have to be the best player on the team, but has a level of consistency that means he keeps his place. But he has to have the respect of the other players. If your captain doesn't have that, you got no chance.
Could be a goalkeeper though, if you're at United.
So why you make that face?
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.